Hello, everybody. I'm Carl Jablonski. I'm the head of business development over here at WildTech, specifically for the NetSuite side of things. But don't worry, at WildTech, we're completely vendor agnostic, even internally. So, I'm involved in a lot of Microsoft deals and projects and, partnership stuff as well. So welcome to today's 30-minute lunchbox special. I'm seeing some familiar faces, which is always good. Welcome back. A couple of new, when I say faces, I mean names, a couple of new names as well. For those of you that don't know, we like to keep these sessions quite short, a little bit sort of high level, but just talk about, various topics and, any sort of follow-up questions or information you might require. Please do reach out to us, whether that's email, phone, etc. Not a problem at all. We're always open to continuing these conversations beyond the webinar. Just a heads up, we've opted to mute everybody to eliminate background noise, but feel free to pop your questions in the chat window and we'll aim to respond in a timely manner. As I said, there is always a Q&A session towards the end, but if you don't feel like doing that, as I said, reach out to us. So today's webinar is a tech race that benefits your business. New module releases from NetSuite and Microsoft. This one's a bit wordy, but I promise you it's worth it. The idea here is today we're going to be talking about, how technology is evolving, particularly in the ERP space or the business management software space. And we're going to pull out two of the vendors that we work with, whose platforms we solution, implement, and support. Those being NetSuite and Microsoft. Quick notes. We're not in any way, shape, or form insinuating that the other partners or the other vendors and platforms are not investing in things like R&D. We're just, it's a 30-minute session and we could talk about this for 3 business days. So we had to limit it a little bit. All right. So for those of you that are new and perhaps aren't too familiar with WildTech, I'll do a brief introduction of who we are. We're Australian owned and operated. We are digital transformation specialists. We have a wide range of capabilities from, resource augmentation, app development, but really most of our work starts with the core of the transformation being ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning software. So we tend to use that as the springboard and then look at everything else. So we're very holistic with our approach. It's got all to do with all the various industry softwares that you might be using or the industry specific softwares you might be using and bringing it all together and making sure that our clients have the best possible business management software ecosystems, both for now and for the future. We do focus on a couple of industries. We're not limited to these industries, as I'm sure you can appreciate with all of the technology stacks that we work with. The limitations are few, if any, but our key industries are manufacturing, retail, supply chain, professional services, and financial services. It's just where the bulk of our customers are. From a capability point of view, we do like to focus on process optimization. We're not big fans of just duplicating what our clients do in a new user interface or in a new tool. It's about obviously those efficiency gains. We like to consolidate a number of disparate systems. So whilst we're very big on improving processes and focusing on unique or individual processes, we're also very big on trying to minimize the amount of platforms you use. Now, I promise you, it's almost never the case where you're only just using NetSuite or Microsoft Business Central. It's just about reducing the integrations, which I'll talk about a little bit later as well, but reducing integrations, which can be quite costly and also quite an investment from a time and maintenance point of view. Once again, the tools that we use or the platforms that we use tend to be end-to-end business applications in their own right. Doesn't mean that they're the best at everything. It just means that their length and breadth of capabilities, are relatively unmatched. They're kind of seen as the big technology stacks and the big vendors in the market. So today, we'll start with a little bit of an overview. We'll talk about the information revolution. What is that? Well, really, it's about data. You often hear that data is the new oil or the new gold, but I actually had a very interesting conversation with a client of mine the other day who said, Carl, reporting isn't really the issue. Data, like access to data isn't really the issue because we're sucking all this data up into our Power BI instance. The issue is turning that data into, valuable insights or reports. And he actually said, sometimes it feels like we've got a solution and we're looking for the problem and not the other way around. So it's not just about, all this data that we're collecting as organizations across, our customers and, our efficiencies, et cetera. It's about putting that data to good use. We're going to talk a little bit about staying ahead of the curve and what that means. Obviously, with the way that technology is, forever changing at an increasingly fast rate, what does it look like to try to stay ahead of the curve, and what's the benefit to the business that's doing that, but also, their customers. And we're going to focus on the following key releases. So on the NetSuite side, cash management, Cash 360. It's all about cash flow, monitoring that, which is generally always a hot topic, but particularly in the environments that we are in, or the economy that we're in today. We're going to talk about NetSuite's integration connector, or NetSuite connector. Once again, limiting integrations, making it more cost effective, making it more sort of watertight. Talk about NetSuite data analytics warehouse, or their analytics and data warehousing solution, which is like their version of Power BI, which is quite new and is getting rave reviews. And then on the Microsoft side, we're going to talk about their CRM, specifically the Dynamics 365 marketing tool that they're continuously improving, and what they're doing with AI and sales, which is what they're sort of bundling as Microsoft Viva Sales, but it does flow into everything they do because they're Microsoft. Why limit it to point improvements when you can bring sweeping improvements to every product that you have in the market? You might notice just really quickly on the NetSuite side, it seems like they're focusing on, impacting their customers' bottom line. On the Microsoft side, it's all about that revenue. So it's almost like they're focusing on increasing that top line. Quick caveat, obviously, the next release, NetSuite could do a 180 and be focusing on CRM and sales and marketing as well. And Microsoft could subsequently change over and focus more on reporting and optimizing Power BI. These are just the snippets of their latest releases that we're pulling out. Quick history for those of you that don't know much about the history of ERP. I'll be honest with you, a lot of this was before I was born, but ERP started out as MRP for manufacturers, all about material resource planning. It then got a little bit better, a little bit smarter. They started thinking about real-time data and production schedules, etc., which became MRP2. In the 90s, people thought, hey, this is great. Let's bring in other parts of our business operations, and bring in things like finance and CRM and marketing. And that was the birth of what we know as ERP. Almost 10 years later, not even 8 years later, because NetSuite, which came to market as a cloud business management software solution, entered the market in 1998. The internet changed everything, and cloud suddenly became a thing. And I was actually laughing the other day, up until like 5 years ago, people were genuinely still sort of concerned, or they had objections about cloud. Now, these days, it's like a necessity. They don't even ask, is it cloud-based, because they just assume it's cloud-based. And then obviously, the whole concept of what cloud business management software is, or SaaS, changed the game. Suddenly you could have updates every 6 months, every year. They'd keep you on the latest version. Things like integration, partner solutions. The world just sort of opened up in terms of options, and we went through a couple of cycles of the hot thing was to have best of breed and just integrate it all together. And then it's, changed now back to that sort of unified business management software solution with a single data source. So here we are today, the 2020s, and we're all about the information and the information revolution. So the velocity of change is unprecedented. There are actually massive opportunities for businesses of all sizes. Historically, MRP and ERP were big, clunky, expensive things. Now you've got, vendors in the market scaling their solution right back. And, for example, WildTech have got customers that jumped on board at 3 million revenue. Obviously, they had lofty growth plans, and they were all about future-proofing their business. But it's really interesting to see how accessible ERP, specifically these sort of big market-leading branded ERPs, are getting for the smaller businesses. And once again, that's just some more optimization and R&D and changes that these vendors have made to basically make themselves more affordable and more appealing to the small to medium business. Everything is about the ability to harness vast amounts of data. It's about real-time communication and collaboration, operational efficiency maximization, which, it's kind of been around for a while, but it's all focused on data-driven decision making. So how are your technology vendors positioned to enable this for your business? This is the question that you should be asking. When you're sitting there in the boardroom and you're planning for the next 5 years and you're thinking, well, we could look for an acquisition, we could open up a new business line or release a whole new set of products, or maybe include servicing and maintenance as part of our offering. You've got to then consider the process impact to your organization and therefore the impact on your technology stack. Obviously, it might not make sense in the early days because you can run it out of spreadsheets and you've got to make sure that it's got legs first. But as those sort of new parts of your business grow, you've got to bring them in-house to get the same data and the same reporting capabilities that you're getting from everywhere else. So that's the question for the day, and that's the question that I would suggest you go and ask your partners, or if we're your partners, ask your account manager, and start having that conversation, because cloud ERP is a continuously improving, continuously evolving beast, which is great because that means agility and flexibility for your business. So what are the big vendors doing? Well, big vendors are doubling down on things like connectivity. They're trying to bring more and more things in-house, add more slices of pie to their portion. They're continuously optimizing and assessing their software stack and technology. They're focused on ensuring you get the most out of your platforms. They're extending functionality and longevity because they want you to be on it forever, so that you don't have to go through that whole digital transformation process again, and there's no risk of you going to a competitor. So really, they're starting to build out their toolkits so that, if you're a 3 million revenue business and you're jumping on, but you've got funding or you've got goals, and in 5 years time you're going to be a $500 million retailer, giants, in 5 different markets. They want to make sure that throughout that entire journey, your first port of call is your technology partner, and looking at what does Microsoft have to offer, what does Oracle or Oracle NetSuite have to offer. So it's really interesting because although these big vendors are already at the top of their game and they're the market leaders, anybody who knows anything about being at the top, there's only one direction to go after that, and that's what they're trying to avoid. So they make no mistake about it. They are often seen as the best, but they are fighting for their survival, which is great for you as customers because it means that they are not going to take their foot off the gas. Really interesting thing is sometimes I'm talking to clients and functionality that they're not even sure exists or could exist are actually on the roadmap for a couple of releases down the line, and they're talking to me about their problems and they're saying we want to do this, but we're not sure how we're going to support that from a technology standpoint. And you make mention of this roadmap item, and suddenly it's a light bulb moment. You're no longer inhibited by the technology. So people often see the tech race as a 100-meter dash. It's definitely not. I wouldn't even say it's really a marathon, although that's probably a bit of a better analogy for it. The way I see the tech race is actually like the Olympics, specifically the Olympics medal tally. What I mean by this is, you've got countries that, due to culture, resources, or past successes, they are really, really good at particular events, or really, really good at like, for example, the winter or the summer, and that could be because of geographical reasons, right? But what's interesting is you've got these powerhouse countries that are consistent performers across the board. They might not be the best sprinters, right? They might not be the best bobsledders, right? But what they are doing is consistently performing across the board and picking up medals. Now, a lot of this has got to do with resources. From an Olympic standpoint, it's obviously investment into sport. It's obviously population. Those two things pay. Those two things are key factors. And it's no different in the technology space, right? It's about people, their experience, their knowledge. It's about investments. How much are they spending on R&D? Are they making acquisitions and bringing products in-house? So when you think of the tech race, I want you to think of the Olympic medal like chart or tally, and think of those smaller vendors as, you know, those countries that continuously win gold in that one event, because that's their bread and butter. That's what they're spending all their time being experts in. And that's not a problem. Sometimes, you know, it makes sense to have, you know, that particular small country that are excellent at sprinting as part of your software ecosystem. But look at the whole picture and what, you know, the vendor is doing across the board. We're going to focus now a little bit on NetSuite's releases, and there's been a lot. There will be a lot more. But as you can see from the list, you know, some of the, you know, the top 8 that we've pulled out are NetSuite Planning and Budgeting, or NSPB, NetSuite Analytics Warehouse, NetSuite Suite Commerce. I briefly we'll go into the NetSuite Analytics Warehouse a little bit more, but NetSuite Suite Commerce has been around for a while, and that is now being sort of revamped and changed and optimized again, which is really exciting for those of you that, you know, want to bring e-commerce into your NetSuite environment. NetSuite CPQ, configure, price, and quote. Really great tool, quite new, but getting great reviews. And with someone like Oracle behind it, I can only imagine it becoming better and better. NetSuite have done the same sort of thing with the NetSuite connector. Once again, they've brought a partner solution in-house through acquisition, and they are, you know, spending a lot of time and R&D budget on making that the go-to NetSuite connector, all about, you know, limiting other parties involved in your software ecosystem, being that one throat to choke. And obviously, if it's all Apple, for example, it all works together seamlessly, right? That's the whole idea of the Apple universe. NetSuite Cash 360, brilliant tool. We'll talk about that in a bit. NetSuite Suite People Workforce Management, and NetSuite Smart Count, which is a really nice inventory and warehouse management inventory count tool. So NetSuite Analytics Warehouse is their take on a Power BI or a Focus or a Domo, but it is in your NetSuite environment. It sucks up all your data from NetSuite, allows you to configure it and manipulate it like those other tools. It also is not limited to just NetSuite, so any sort of NetSuite suite apps that you're using, or any completely random third-party solutions that you're using, even Excel spreadsheets, it can read that data, bring it in, and you know, allow you to really start drawing the insights out of it that you want. Getting rave reviews, still quite a new product. So if you don't want to be on that early adoption, maybe wait a little bit longer, but, you know, really, really does look the part. The NetSuite connector, same sort of thing. Rave reviews. This, I think they came out, I was actually surprised with how many pre-built connections they came out with initially. I thought they were going to do just sort of like Shopify, WooCommerce, and, you know, maybe something else. They actually came out with like 11 or 12. Obviously, Shopify, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, like the main ones. And it seems to be going down an absolute treat. Now, the connector space is quite congested, but once again, NetSuite are bringing their own flavor to it, and they're bringing their big bank balance to the party as well. So we've got high hopes for the NetSuite connector, and we're going to be monitoring that for our existing customers and potentially new customers. NetSuite Cash 360 is a really good tool, and we'll see that in a bit, but that's all about cash flow management. So this is the NetSuite Data Warehouse screenshot. It's all about consolidating key order management metrics in a single view, simplifying data management, and giving you a little bit more flexibility beyond your saved searches and your pre-built dashboards. I feel like something like this has been on the cards for a while, and they definitely didn't rush it. It looks the part, and I'd highly recommend, if you no longer want to use something like Power BI or Focus, or if you don't have anything in this space, give it a look. Here we go. NetSuite's connector. I was so surprised to see how many pre-built connections they actually brought to the table. Obviously, this isn't a comprehensive list, and I wouldn't be surprised if from the time of taking this screenshot and putting it in the slideshow, they haven't added a couple more. They're just exploding in terms of, you know, that connector's capabilities. But a lot of it's around sort of point of sale, online marketplaces, e-commerce, 3PL, you know, the usual sort of pain points for ERP customers. And this is NetSuite's Cash 360, which, look, to be fair, you probably want to see a video of if this is of interest, because it's got a lot of functionality. But cash is the lifeblood of any business. Finance leaders must always know how much cash the company needs, how much is on hand, and how much is owed, right? So AR, AP, it's the age-old sort of conundrum, and it's just bringing more functionality and more capability to the table. On the Microsoft side, Copilot. So it's AI-assisted sales or Sales Viva. It uses the power of generative AI, which is a really hot topic at the moment. Microsoft seems to be sort of on the forefront of that from an ERP vendor standpoint. And it's designed to help you create content faster, manage or change your pre-existing content, so you don't have to scrap everything you've already got. It's quite an intuitive tool, and it's got all to do about making sure that you're getting the right message to the right people at the right time. So generate email content, refine that generated content, understand the data sources behind it. But a really cool tool for me personally, who uses it, is the summarize latest meeting. So it actually generates a summary of your interaction, relevant action items and next steps. It can do this with emails as well. So if you get a really long email, Viva Sales or Copilot pops up, and it'll actually just bullet point the email. And I was really skeptical at first of like how accurate it could be, but it was brilliant. So it's just making salespeople's lives easier, which, if you know anything about salespeople, is a good thing for your organization, because it allows more time for them to be to be selling and to be generating revenue, rather than doing admin tasks or summarizing notes in meetings. So Copilot and Viva Sales, really, really excited about what they're bringing out in the space. We use Dynamics CRM ourselves, and it's made my life already easier, and it's only going to get better and more mature. So on the Dynamics Marketing 365 side, quick caveat, obviously this is a step up from things like MailChimp, right? MailChimp, from a cost-effective point of view, sending out thousands of emails to your clients, email templates, it's going to be hard to beat anything like that for just that. But what Dynamics Marketing 365 does, right, is it connects your sales and marketing and allows you to create powerful journeys for customers based on cues and signals. So it's that full customer journey map with prompts and follow-up emails or tasks, even like it can ping a sales rep in the CRM to make a phone call. It looks absolutely incredible. We don't use this yet. I say yet because I have a feeling we probably will. But it's all about saving time and resources, reusing and adapting your existing outbound assets, customer journeys, getting the right information to the right customers at the right time, and improving your conversion rate or your after sales experience as well. Brilliant tool. Part of this is about the segmentation. So I just have to quickly touch on it. They have made it very, very easy to use. You can use, your query assists, which is a Copilot feature. Marketers are now able to quickly build targeted segments using conversational everyday language. You don't need to know code. You don't need to know weird tags to do this. And you can suddenly, interact with your customers through marketing messages, websites, events, other channels. Doesn't matter what your customers are doing. It can be built into Dynamics Marketing 365 and then successfully improved. That's it for today. I know it feels a little bit like I've skimmed over it, and I've done that because if you want to know more about some of these releases, or if you want to know more about any of the platforms that we support and what releases they're coming out with, that's probably a conversation in its own right, potentially a demo. So it wouldn't have felt right to just blurt it out over 25 minutes. I hope you've gotten a bit of an idea of what's happening in these ecosystems, and enjoyed the webinar. For those of you that want to drop off now, feel free to. For those of you that want to stick around for Q&A, we have had a couple of great questions come through, and I'll just sort of start answering them. So goodbye to those of you leaving, and come on in for those that want to stay. So first question here. Would a specialist partner tend to be in both Microsoft and NetSuite partner networks, or exclusive to one? Great question. Generally speaking, specialist partners will stay in one product stack. There are a few out there that are, across a few product stacks like WildTech. The vendors tend to not like it too much, obviously, because they want you to invest all your time and effort into their product. But I couldn't speak highly enough of Microsoft and NetSuite when it's come to us. It's all about sort of what the partner does and how they communicate it. So yeah, look, generally it's sort of one-to-one. Or you'd have a specialist partner working with like a Microsoft for the SMB to enterprise side of things, and then they might have like zero specialization for their smaller companies that just want financials or Zoho CRM, etc. Another question: how do you begin to work out which one is better for our applications? Brilliant question. Probably a bit of a long answer, but I'll try and summarize it. It is all about you guys. We spend time with you. We do scoping sessions. We do workshops. We want to understand not just your goals now or in the future, but what are you actually doing today? And I'm talking all the weird, use cases where probably only the key users in finance or in the warehouse would actually be aware of like the ramifications of not being able to track it. The idea there is, if we can know as much as we can about you, and you transfer a bit of that knowledge of your business to us, we can then advise you properly and score the solutions properly. Otherwise, it can be a little bit of guesswork. So we really do like to take that time and get to know what you're looking to achieve and how you're doing things before ever talking platforms, let alone suggesting one. All right, now on time, I think we can probably do a couple of more questions if anybody wanted to flick some through. Otherwise, perhaps we could end and you can jump and grab a bite to eat or get back into your day's tasks. It's entirely up to you. I do have one more question here. Okay, yeah, no worries. I know who that is. I'll reach out to you. Thanks for jumping onto the webinar. Other than that, I think we're done. So thank you so much for spending your 30-minute lunch break with us. Hope you've got some value out of it, and hopefully see you at the next one.